I'm here with John of Warbringer to talk about the new record, Wrath and Ruin, out March 14th on Napalm Records with the artwork standing behind him. How's things going with you?
Going good, man. I mean, it's pretty cool standing in front of a giant green screen of your own artwork, I gotta say. But yeah, things are great. Been doing a lot of press and interviews, gearing up for the record, and looking forward for the release. The whole engine's about to start roaring up with the tour coming up and the release coming up. So I'm gonna be out of here. I'm gonna be leaving my tranquil forest to go everywhere else and try to rock everyone I run into, basically. So it should be a lot of fun and looking forward.
Before we talk about the record in depth and to talk about what I believe 2025 is going to be the year of thrash with bands like Warbringer, Destruction releasing outstanding records in my opinion, like records that I feel are going to revitalize the genre because we've been lacking a little bit consistency when it comes to thrash metal. I want to ask you what causes your wrath and what delivers your ruin?
What causes it? Well, basically, as you can see from the singles on the record and stuff, I think the stuff that generates all the anger here is conditions on Earth, the actual world, what human civilization's up to, and the stuff I don't like about it. Basically, it's largely about that, and that's what a lot of the anger is directed towards. Shaking my fist at the sky, if you will. Yeah.
The previous record, Weapons of Tomorrow, came out during the pandemic. You guys perhaps didn't have as much of an opportunity to really expose the masses to that record. So when the time came to write this album, were you guys trying to make up for a little bit of lost time?
Well, it was more than a little crappy. It really sucked. We couldn't tour it. And Weapons of Tomorrow, in part, is Sights of Zero, and a lot of people out there critically acclaimed it and everything. And so we were very happy about that and felt like we were going to be able to capitalize on some of our own success, and we weren't. So that sets us back and sucks for us. I think that has something to do with the delay because it wasn't like the engine was just rolling from one to the next because the whole process was interrupted pretty heavily by a couple of years. Um, so yeah, that and that whole like malaise of sitting in there is where some of these songs like A Better World and Bitter and stuff like that was written or conceived of as well. Um, so that instance definitely like connects to this record and how it's made. Um, I don't know if we can make up for lost time. That doesn't exist. I'm just older now. The band's older now. Things are different. I don't get those. We don't get those years back. But we're gonna just make all the time we have good. And right now, I often see that we're regarded as a band that's really consistent across, and that's something I'm probably the most proud of. I think Warringer's always stuck to its guns and given you an ass kicker of a record every single time. So that's maintaining that and keeping that up and keeping the quality as high as we possibly can. That's the driving forces here.
So the next tour, the next North American tour that you guys are going to be embarking on, headlining tour, just in a couple of months, is not even a couple of months, a couple of weeks. What am I
Yeah.
saying? You guys are going to be in Toronto on March 31st, so it's really a couple of weeks. So is that tour going to be focused not only on this new record, but also on the previous record, since you didn't have as much of a time to tour on Weapons?
I mean, so we actually kind of wiggle our set lists around more than I think most bands do. We have rehearsed set lists and stuff, but we'll play with them and mess with them night to night. We'll usually have a couple rotating slots, even when the set list has sort of solidified. But I don't know how much we're gonna play from this. I know we're gonna play at least the singles. Um, but it'll be interesting to see how it kind of we haven't played this material live, so we have a lot to learn about how it translates and what to do with it in our own sets. uh so we'll see. Basically, I think that we're not gonna like specifically focus on Weapons of Tomorrow in particular out of our records, but the goal of the set list I think will be to showcase some of the new Wrath and Ruin material, but also just the strength of the band's catalog in general. So that'll include Weapons of Tomorrow. You know, we got to play Firepower Kills. You know, I'd be pissed if we didn't. You know, so we got to do some from Weapons for sure because that was a great record and we're really proud of that one. Um, but I'm not. But different nights will be different amounts from different records. I think generally we try to play at least one from every single record the band's put out. Um, but yeah, it's we're gonna be doing rehearsal soon, and so that's when we're gonna decide on the set list. So I think apart from the Wrath and Ruin singles, we'll kind of see what the band wants to do and what we end up preparing for, because it'll we'll also when the record comes out, we're gonna see what people kind of gravitate towards and like, and that might we might rehearse and like get a song up to live speed based on that if people seem to really like this or that song. So that's something we don't get to see yet as it's 1 week from today the thing comes out.
Yeah, look at you guys being all interested in bringing to the fans what the fans want. You guys are a bunch of givers.
I mean, I think you have to be. It's just the smart way to be, and it's seems right to me. Um, but yeah, you try your best, and we don't like. I'm out here in Florida, the band's in LA, so we have an idea. As like, hey guys, we're gonna play like 12 to 14 songs ish, and so we gave out a list of like 18 songs to learn, and that's just to start with, because we want to have some wiggle room and be ready to play a bunch of different stuff. So I don't know. Are we going to put like the Wrath and Ruin material in the middle? Are we going to open with it? It'll probably be in the first half of the set, is what I'm thinking. But like that's my thought process right now. It's not like nailed down, and I don't feel the need to nail it down because like the band plays well, and we're good at fluidly playing a show, and so we'll adapt and kind of find out where it works, and that's always an exciting process to work new material into a set because you kind of see how it fits and where it sits and how people react to it. We know people like these songs, but in a live context, it's always different.
I noticed one thing when I was listening to the record. I mean, not that I was expecting anything different, but we're living in an era where I see a lot of thrash metal bands that came up at the same time as Warbringer, going in different directions with a more approachable, for lack of a better term, sound. And you guys on this record went back into the well, into that more traditional thrash metal sound. Is that something that's really important for you guys to never really lose track of what got you to where you are now and keep that sound moving forward?
Well, I mean, I think yes, first off. But then if you look at who we are and what we are, I think it just makes sense. I mean, here I am. Look, that's a big spiky logo that says Warbringer, right? If it doesn't kick your ass, you're gonna want your money back. Like, what are we doing? The band's called Warbringer. Our logo is spiky. I'm barking at you the whole time. Like that's just what we do. We are a vicious band first and foremost. And that was part of the thing. Weapons of Tomorrow, though a pretty intense record by the standards of most bands, I'd say, had some like more wandering passages, I guess. And we did want this one to be a little more like consistently for the throat throughout, actually. That was a goal on it. We wanted it to be a little more extreme than the last one. I think it doesn't only verge into traditional thrash, because I think it verges into like Death and Black a fair chunk of the time on the runtime of this record, but just we want it to be a real ass kicker. Basically, it's called Wrath and Ruin, and we're just trying to rain down the thunder on everybody.
And you guys deliver it. The
Yeah.
album has a great sound. I was expecting it to have these super powerful guitars and be a very guitar-driven album, which it is. But the part that surprised me is that you guys actually allowed the bass to come through in the mix quite a bit, which adds to that darkness that you were just mentioning it. Was that also by design, or is that something that kind of happened as you were putting the record together?
So one of the things is between Woe to the Vanquished and Weapons Tomorrow, our bass player changed to Chase from Jesse Sanchez to Chase Bryant, who also did Wrath and Ruin, is in the band now and everything. Um, So I felt that he's a fantastic player. He went to music school. He's all studied. He plays a bunch of instruments. He plays in a bunch of bands and types of music. Guy's just a talented musician. And I felt he was underutilized on Weapons. And that's something I personally was pushing for, was to get more bass in the mix and more like dynamic bass parts on this record. Because I know we have this player who's really talented, and I believe a lot in his ability to write and play great shit. Um, and sometimes in thrash, the bass doing a role, like stepping outside of what the guitar is doing, because it's such this guitar riff driven genre, is a neat little line to walk, because you do want those unison parts where the bass just hammering along with the riff. 100%, we do have those. But I was trying to be like, okay, once we've laid one of those down to verse two, what can we do? And I was like talking with them, trying to get them to just like add more bass to the record generally. And then Mark Lewis, the producer, also is a lover of the bass. And I think just getting that the thing that always gets me in metal with the bass instrument is when the riff is, I still, I'm just a regular traditional metalhead, I guess. I want the riff like front and center of the song, of the mix, everything, right? But like the bass needs to like right here and kind of like dancing around it and like popping up from time to time. A lot of my favorite metal like does that and it adds that dynamism, and it can do stuff where it lets you get away with like pounding a riff into the ground for four more bars because you've added like a bass variation in the second part, and the riff can almost get this like hypnotic quality, and you have other musical elements that keep your ear like interested. And it's just we got five members, and I want to use all five of them basically.
Yeah. And like I said, you guys use them to the full extent because I really feel like this is perhaps a record in a long time in the discography where everybody gets their 15 minutes of fame, so to speak. There's room for everybody to shine, drums, bass, guitars, vocals. And when it came to the vocals, how was this record for you? Same as always?
Well, they're never always the same. I'm doing the same job, basically trying to go in and deliver the lines I wrote. I pretty much write everything in advance. I usually finish up half a song, or there's usually like one song I don't have totally finished. So I finish in the studio, and I'll tweak parts. But basically, I don't like ad lib anything. It's all planned out because that's just the only way I know how to do it. So my job is always to take the stuff I wrote and put it down on the riffs, on time, accurate, and as furious sounding as I can get it, basically. So I was doing that, and Mark Lewis, I think, he got a really good vocal sound. I think he just dialed it in, and it was just feeling smooth and easy, quite frankly. Um, and he's really encouraging about the process, so I was feeling good about it as I was laying it down, getting a lot of encouragement there, which helps. You need your team around you to kind of support you. There's a definitely like an emotional aspect because you have to like feel cool while you're doing it, I guess is the way to say it. Sometimes if a bad take, you don't, it's a little embarrassing, I guess, to belt it on the mic and then like not feel good about it, So and also you're gonna be corrected a lot in the vocal because like you're doing these songs, you're gonna be in there for hours for each of them. Most of the takes you do, you won't keep, right? So there's that element as well, which is interesting. Mark Lewis had one thing he would say on all of these, which is like, "I love what you're doing right there, but I just need you to make it sound a little more pissed." He would say like that. You need to sound a little more pissed right there. And, like that was his guiding. The most common thing I would hear from him is to sound more pissed, and I already like sound really pissed off by
Yeah, I was
default
just gonna say you
too.
pretty much sound very pissed off when you're
I,
singing. So to push it that to go, he was basically asking you to turn it to 11.
Pretty much, yeah. You just because I've been sounding pissed since day one. That's all I do is sound pissed. So he wants me to say it's like that was his emphasis though. Say I want you to sound really pissed, okay? So that was a cool like challenge that he threw down on me is to sound more pissed than I usually do,
Yeah,
which
like
I
in my mind, I see you going to Starbucks ordering a coffee with that kind of attitude and those vocals, and pretty much everything you do in life, going to the grocery store and whatever, always like, ah, motherfucker, sir.
Yeah, sometimes I do, if you're like out there running errands and you hit traffic and somebody's rude to you and stuff, sometimes you do almost go into the grocery store with that face on, you know what I mean? It's fucking
Brutal,
Yeah, I do
brutal.
sometimes. But typically I'm pretty jovial and the band and stuff is a means to voice kind of that negative side and that negative aspect, right? I don't want to act that way to you because I wouldn't want me to act that way like off the stage, but on the stage, oh yeah, I'm furious. I don't like anybody, you know.
Yeah, the lyrics on the album are so engaging from a listener standpoint. Do you write with the song in mind, or you're someone who normally scribbles down a few things here and there, and then you bring that into the studio?
So we were willing for the last few records to basically put the lyric and the concept of the songs in a more important place, I think, than a lot of bands rank it. And I think that's really worked. So most of the songs on here, 7 out of 8 in this case, started with here's a lyric idea, here's a title I have in most cases. Here's like a chorus line, here's a few other random lines I wrote, and here's like I would type up a little thing. Here's what I want the song to be about. I imagine it sounding this way, maybe like this band on that record, as like a musical reference or something. I would throw some adjectives in there and kind of describe the tempo and other whatever other musical traits I could like describe with words, basically. And then Carlos, who arranged and wrote most of this record, would work off of that and come up with a demo of something. And usually it was like half a song. Then I would go in, we would talk about it. We would work and like talk. I would talk about like how parts I had written fit in there. A lot of times, as it turns out, some of the lines I had written, I was able to just like slot them in on a riff. I would change like the cadence that it had in my head a little bit, but sometimes not even that much. And which is weird because the riffs didn't exist at the time I wrote it, and
Yeah.
I'm putting it two riffs and it just slid right in. Like the Cage of Air chorus, for instance, I had written before there was any song there, and then it just dropped right in without me changing a single word. So that kind of stuff happened. It was a pretty interesting process. And then we would like I would like drop a vocal demo on there, and then Carlos would like finish the second half of the song, and then we would go in and like record vocals for that, and maybe re-record vocals for the beginning. And so we made this demo version of the record before we made the record, mostly Carlos and myself, um, down in downtown LA, and wrote it that way. So it's pretty like focused and targeted way to write a record, I think. And so, Strike from the Sky was like old school speed metal tonality, fast burner, something like Firepower Kills, lots of high shrieking with a theme of like modern imperialism as the idea. And that would or Cage of Air would be like longer, proggier structure with a dense claustrophobic vibe and themes of like techno dystopia and the individual questioning his own freedom in the face of like current social conditions and propaganda, advertising, all that. So like I would have a little write up and there would be a description roughly like the one I gave you. And Carlos would write a chunk of music off of that. In the case of Cage of Air, it's like you get the main verses. It was really a hell of a process.
Yeah, it sounds like a
I
very intricate process.
I mean, it really in process was like send the thing a couple weeks later. I roll down to downtown LA. We meet for a few hours, work through it some more. Few weeks later, and a couple weeks later, now I finish the lyric to that piece of music, and I go down and do it again, and then we work on the next one. So it was it sounds really intricate and thought out, but it kind of was just sort of rolling along with it. It was kind of steady and easy process. A number of the song ideas, including the two singles that are out so far, Sword in the Cross and Better World, I wrote like years before that we started making this thing too. I had the whole end verse of Sword in the Cross before there like was a song at all. The whole end like everything after and so in the present that's it was in the past and then that on to the end of the song was all written like well before there was a song there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds really cool. It feels like it's more of an organic process. Maybe intricate is not the right word, but more organic.
Oh no, it kind of that was our criticism of how we wrote it, is it wasn't organic enough. Because what we didn't do enough of that we could have benefited from, and I think we could have made an even better record. I think this record's great. I love how it came out, but I think we could have. When I'm looking at it and I'm criticizing it, which I should from my position, because I'm gonna have to make another one. I'm gonna want to do a better job there if I can. Um, we needed more time of the band just playing together. That's the thing that was really missing here. We got great performances from everybody, but I think we could have upped the riff craft to an even higher level had we done that, because that's what naturally happens. And we didn't give it enough of that time. So I think we really did a great job on the conceptual elements of the songs, and they sound like they're supposed to for the vibe they had. And I think I personally think I did a good job on the lyrics. I'm really proud of that aspect of the record. So I think there's a lot of real strengths here, and it's a really good record. But I think we could have done that if I were to do it again. I would have tried to get the band in a room together more, jamming these out. And once they're written and structured, then just adding some of that musical pizzazz and just getting the band to like work together on it more. The real problem with this, the way we did this, and just where the band is right now, unfortunately, is that we're often very like separated from each other, which is kind of weirdly apt for some of the themes of social disconnection on the record. But like, yes, that's some of that exists within the band. It wasn't like a perfect scenario. I think we worked very well, but we would have preferred actually probably to do it in a way that's more organic. I'd say intricate was more it
Okay,
because it
so
was
maybe
very
intricate was the better one, but this is really
yeah, yeah,
interesting
it was
because,
very like planned and thought out.
but
And
I
very
find
little
this,
of it was jammed out, for instance.
yeah, I just
So
find this
that's
really
something we
interesting
used to do more. That
that
I'd
you're
prefer moving forward to do more of that. I still want to write my conceptual songs because I think I can do some cool stuff as a thrash vocalist that way. But I would prefer if we were able to do some more just band hit a four count and see what happens kind of shit as well. And then I would have to write lyrics for that or something.
yeah, yeah, a little
It
bit more
shouldn't
in the
all
moment.
come from me. I like that we're able to write that way though, because it does enable me to do some cool stuff with the songs and lyrics and vibes that are different and stand out, I think. So there's ups and downs to every approach.
It's fun that you're saying this to me because as a listener of the record, I didn't get I got more of the organic vibe from the album. I honestly feel this is going to be, without a shadow of a doubt, one of the best thrash metal albums of the year. It's that strong of a record, and it's a genre that I find it to be quite depleted of a more youthful approach to the genre, to the music, because obviously the legacy bands are around and they're creating music, but we need more Warbringers and bands like Warbringer to continue to carry that mantle. And when I was listening to this album, it was just such a pissed off record. It had just great attitude, and it made me feel at least 15 to 20 years younger. And so it felt more natural to me. It felt like a record that sounds just like the way the band sounds live.
That's really so a lot of I think that part is due to Mark Lewis's insistence on the way we got the sounds, because the inputs we were putting in, just the tracks we were laying down, sound very, very, very similar to what you hear on there. There was very little, if any, real studio manipulation of the tracks, because the real studio manipulation of the tracks is that we spent days on just getting the sounds perfect, like really, really good. We spent a day and a half to 2 days on testing every head with every guitar amplifier head, with every guitar, with every amp, and then every speaker in the amp. We tried every combination of that. That was the most boring day for me personally because I wasn't doing shit. I'm the singer, but like Mark really put that kind of stuff was on a level of scrutiny that I haven't personally experienced before, and so that. I think just the sound of the instruments being what they are and stuff really does come out of that.
Yeah, and I love it. I love it, dude. John, thank you very much for your time today. I really appreciate talking to you. I will see you guys in Toronto on March 31st. Looking forward to seeing you guys. It's been a very long time. I think the last time I saw you guys in Toronto, you were with Enforced on a co-headlining tour. You were playing at Velvet Underground. That was before the pandemic.
Oh yeah, it was a while ago. I think
Yeah.
you might mean Enforcer.
Yeah, Enforcer, sorry.
Easily confused, I would imagine. Yeah, they all
Yeah,
sound
one is
much
a
alike,
crossover
but
thrash metal band. The other one is a heavy metal band from Sweden. So yes, definitely
yeah,
two
yeah,
different
but
bands.
almost the same. But yeah, we were with the. We haven't toured with Enforced yet. That's a tour I would like to do.
I think that would be a great
Enforced,
package for you guys.
I think it would be. I think it'd be a great package for the fans too. It's a good band. So yeah, but I remember that show. Okay, yeah, that was a good minute ago.
Yeah, it was a long time ago, but you know what I took from that show that I think was really cool is that I went there to see both bands. I'm a fan of both bands, and you guys played before them, and I was like, this is like listening to the Cranberries after you listen to Slayer. It just doesn't work because you guys destroyed it. Like your set was like insane. So after that kind of energy to then get something more mellow, I was like, oh, this is going to be a tough one. Even though I love both bands, it's just that you guys have such a great live show. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Well, thank you very much. We always try to be the most energetic band on the stage and just to lay waste, pretty much. So I do appreciate that it comes off that way. That is what we're aiming for. And you know, if we don't want to be an easy band to follow on the stage. I'll just say that. You know,
You're,
it's
you're,
not. We want to make an impact and make you feel like you just got your head blown off, pretty much.
just remember when you hit the stage, just be a little bit more pissed off.
I need to be more pissed. Yeah.
Yeah, when I see you in Toronto, I'll scream that after the first song. You need to be more pissed. Then you know
I'll
it's
do
me
it.
in the
I'll be
crowd.
more pissed. That if I hear that, that'll piss me off, and then I'll be more pissed. That'll happen.
Take care, man. All the
All
best. I'll see you on the
right, take
road.
care, guys. Have a good one.